There we go.
It's magic. Good morning, Dr. R.
Good morning, Carolyn.
It is nice to see you, and
You too.
welcome to our Facebook Live that you and I do on Tuesdays now. Welcome, everybody. Happy belated Father's Day to all the men out there, and a little switcheroony, and happy. What else can I say? Other than, guess what? We have questions, and we
All
can go
right.
ahead and get started, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. I'm hoping you're well. You look great.
Thank you. I am
Oh,
very
you're
well.
welcome. Of course. All right. Question number one, one we get often, and that's always a good one. The questionnaire writes in: many women go through menopause without using any form of BHRT and feel great even while in postmenopause. Are some women naturally producing enough estrogen to keep their bones, brain, heart, etc. healthy, or do all women need BHRT?
That's a great question.
See the smile on your face. Yes.
Of course, I'm highly opinionated.
You? I don't believe it.
Um, the question had embedded within it many women. Oh, yeah?
Many
Many?
being the operative
Like,
word.
like for example, I spent 20 years in Florida and was on a beach almost daily, walking the beach. And one thing that really stood out to me is though that Florida has a predominance of elderly folks as no other place in the country except possibly Phoenix or Tucson. There was not that many elderly folks walking the beach. And when they were, they almost all had very thin lower extremities, very thin. And then when I was in medical school, as I mentioned in this FaceTime Live,
Yeah, that thing that we do.
this FaceTune,
FaceTune Live. Yeah. Our Facebook Live.
yeah, oh yes, book, that I was a senior and we were receiving a lecture from a gerontologist, and the gerontologist was saying something that just stayed with me ever since. That that you medical students, thousands of diagnoses, and let me tell you what's really happening to elderly folks. They're getting sarcopenia. That means they're losing their muscles, and they can't stand or walk with stability, and they fall onto their osteoporotic hips and they fracture them, and they die either then or soon thereafter, even if they get operated, which is they die within a year. It's very common. The gerontologist says, you want to do something for the elderly? Help them with that sarcopenia. And muscle loss, sarcopenia, is primarily about loss of testosterone in males and females. And of course, testosterone is a human hormone. A woman produces more testosterone than she does estradiol, her most potent estrogen.
Wow.
And so testosterone and androgens are absolutely essential for muscle preservation. Yes, you can go to the gym and you can be a major workout, but very few people who do, can escape the loss of that muscle. Of course, when you lose the muscle that holds this magnificent, majestic muscle that holds up the bladder and the uterus in a woman, that coupled with vaginal atrophy, which is almost a certainty, it is a certainty, with loss of estrogens primarily, that's the recipe for adult diapers and incontinence. And as I mentioned many times, you go to a supermarket and take a look at the shelf real estate taken up by adult diapers. There's a lot of these going out the door. And when you go to assisted living facilities and nursing homes, almost everyone has it. And, bless the adult diapers and bless the nursing home and assisted living facilities, but they're no picnic. And the main thing is, why are so many women and men in nursing homes? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but I was speaking to a physician recently, not too long ago, a friend of ours and a friend of mine, and a leader in the field, Debbie Bergson, and we were trying to guess what do you think the percentage of women who are in nursing homes are there for? Hormonal depletion. It's either loss of muscle, loss of bladder control, or loss of cognition in women. Oh my God.
Right, exactly.
So critical for cognition. Now, do you occasionally hear a story in National Geographic or somewhere, and
Yep.
she was 105, doing great?
National Geographic.
I did see a National Geographic picture of a woman who was 140 and smoking cigarettes. When her husband died 60 years prior, she took up smoking. 140. So, yes, these outliers do exist. These unusual situations do exist, but I wouldn't bank on it.
Right. Maybe err on the side of caution.
The word many is incorrect. It's few and very few, and women who do well without the hormones. Yes, you can survive, but I'm going to tell you, your life is going to mean as much to you when you're 90 and 100, if you make it that long, as it does right now. And if you want to have a vagina, or most of you want to have a mind, or bones, or arteries, healthy arteries, decently healthy arteries, not have a heart attack, these hormones are critical. Not to mention libido, vital interest, good metabolism, healthy functioning immune system. Women do better with COVID than men do. Why? Hormones. These hormones are the most potent biochemicals in our body. And they have they're all over, the receptor sites are all over the body. They're not just in the uterus and breasts.
Right. We have them in our
They're,
tummy and arms and everywhere, right?
we've got them almost everywhere, and everywhere that matters. And so to go without hormones, you do so at your own risk, I want to tell you. And I would highly recommend not doing it. And men, you like your erection, you like your muscles, you like your drive. You better stay with those hormones. So I disagree, and I say it's very few women who do well in their, let's say, 70s, 80s, 90s. These hormones are so crucial. I couldn't recommend them more. And getting them replenished properly really matters as well. So, not going to hear "it's okay" to me, and you're not going to hear the word "many" from me. No way.
Right. And I know that you've treated women, who are 60, 78, 86.
Yes, I have, but it's and there can be success with this. I'm messing with my camera. Apologize. I'm gonna even stand up and mess with it. But it's harder. It's harder to do that. It's hard once you've lost stuff. Yes, you can recover stuff. That's fantastic, but it's not that easy. So don't wait until you've lost a lot of stuff and then say, geez, I think now's the time to start hormones. It's technically more challenging. It's more expensive for the testing we have to do for many women. Yet, yes, I started treating my mother and my mother-in-law in their late 80s to advantage. So it's never too late. A lot can be achieved, but do them hormones. Take them hormones. Find someone you really like and trust who cares about these hormones and has some knowledge and experience in them, and get going.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you always for never having a problem in repeating that. You and I have done so many interviews, and this comes up all the time. And I have no problem asking that question all the time, you know, because I see it too, and I'm well aware of it more so than I ever have been now. Ooh-wee. So thank you so much for that answer, Dr. R. Really. It's important. And thank you for what you do in helping all of the doctors learn how to do what it is that you've learned how to do over the last 50 years, in being a doctor. So appreciated, really. So I guess ladies and men, please consider hormones according to our dear David Rosensweet, MD. I will move on to question number 2 now. If a lady is in surgical menopause and can only afford one hormone right now, um, which hormone would Dr. Rosensweet choose for her? Would it be estrogen, progesterone, testosterone? What does he feel is the most critical? Some women say estrogen, others say differently, and I'm wondering what his thoughts are on this.
Ah, can only afford. Boy, it's really a challenge. But let me tell you the best news I have for this, which I think is the greatest achievement of our team. All gratitude to Andre and Joshua, who spearheaded this. Andre is we're going to be able to offer. We've signed the contracts. We're going, within a month or two. There's a lot of moving parts. We're going to be able to offer women all 4 ovarian hormones, however you need them, if they're in the organic oils, and even some of the oral hormones. We're going to be able to offer them for $119 a month. And if you get in on the ground floor, there's going to be some of you who are going to be able to get them for $99 a month. With inflation going on, things are rapidly changing. So if the American, I'm not going to go there, but that's all for $99 a month. So contact Sherry, Sheree, and maybe you'll post that at menopausemethod.com, and you'll be able to get all 4 for $99 a month if you get in the ground floor. So that's the good news I have to report.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's 4 ovarian hormones. Estradiol, I'm sorry, biased. There's estradiol, estriol. That constitutes the best way to deliver estrogen. Those 2, but they come combined. There's testosterone and there's progesterone. That's a tough choice between which one of those to take. It's hard for me to answer that. I don't know what to say. If a woman's having serious cognitive decline and is waking up in the middle of the night with racing mind and can't go back to sleep, I'd probably go with estrogen. And you probably have access to estradiol maybe in the patch. But heck, I'd figure out how to cut up those patches because, to do them least expensively. But progesterone is needed for the brain, for your mood, for calming. So I hate to give you the not good news. And testosterone is needed for those muscles. So I'd say what we really have to offer is all 4 hormones for $119 a month. And for those of you who get on the ground floor, as we have probably, they're figuring it all out right now. But the contracts have been signed. We visited the actual national pharmacy. They're fabulous. They're really an amazing creation. Good people. So as soon as we get the moving parts going, the bottles, the orifice reducers, the eyedroppers, the syringes, oral syringes for men, the hormones, get it all going, the training program, we're in motion. It's our highest priority. Then we'll announce this on our FaceTime Live, Carolyn, of course. You'll announce it on Ins and Outs of
Oh,
Menopause,
you bet.
and we'll blast it out to the planet, to United States of America.
Yes, we will.
Working on Canada and Australia and Europe, so we're going there.
It's very exciting. Yeah.
I know it's an incomplete answer, but it's gosh.
It's a tough call, right?
It's a tough call. If your brain and your vagina and your bladder is working pretty good and you're sleeping, I'd probably go with testosterone. If you're losing muscle and you're having trouble walking with stability, but you're going to lose all 4 of those hormones. And so you want to replenish all 4 of them. So I'd say contact us. We'll get you in touch with someone who can prescribe these.
Right. I'll put Sherry's email back up there again. I do often. And I know that she's busy working. Bless her. And Andre and Joshua, and certainly you. And our Facebook Live's getting some information out there. So one way or another, we're going to accomplish this. Yes?
Yep.
And it's interesting that you mentioned Australia, because I do have someone who's written in from Perth, Australia. And her question is, God, I think I'm right. I hope I'm right, but I'm not sure. It's one of these. It's this one. She said, I wish I could see Dr. Rosensweet. I am in Australia and I love watching you too. And I thank you for your kind time. I had a full hysterectomy at 30. I'm now 67 and I'm still miserable. I take 100 milligrams twice a week of the estradiol patch and a small amount of testosterone. I can't take any progesterone as it makes me feel absolutely awful. I'm wondering if Dr. Rosensweet feels that estrogen, in my case, like the twice a week thing that she's taking, estradiol, she's wondering if you feel that estrogen could be too high or maybe too low. And she also has an underactive thyroid, and she'll take any kind of suggestions, advice that you have, and says, thank you so much.
Well, I love and I'm a proponent of what I consider to be the most excellent of hormone replenishing, and that's biased testosterone in an organic oils base.
And what is biased?
Biased is 2 estrogens. It's estradiol and estriol. It's a combination.
Right. Thank you.
And estradiol is the most potent of the estrogen produced by a woman's ovaries, and estriol is the most prevalent. There's about 1.3 times as much estriol as there is the sum of estradiol and a third estrogen called estrone. Having said all that, if the only tool in the world I had was that patch, I'd celebrate the living heck out of it. And the patches come in several doses. And you might have dose issues. In order to really help you with that, I would need to know the exact symptoms that you're having or not having. Or, just as good, we wrote a book for women for this very purpose, that you could get an idea of what's going on. And to zero in on your situation, you're asking a question, do I have too much estrogen or too little estrogen? Could my dosage be off? Well, one way to tell, it's not the only way, is to read our book, because we list very carefully the symptoms of insufficient estrogen and excessive estrogen. In fact, we've printed them on a laminated card, which women who are being treated in the menopause method receive this card. And Carolyn's posted this card so you could just take a screenshot of it.
Right.
Download a PDF of it right off the Ins and Outs of Menopause page. It could be a religion of sorts because it's going to tell you whether you're on too much or too little estrogen. Not always. We always confirm by 24-hour urine hormone testing. But because you didn't list the symptoms you're having or not having, I can't give you a specific answer to that, whether your estrogen is right. But estradiol is a great hormone. And if the patch was the only tool that I had, I like I said, I would celebrate it and we'd do a tremendous amount of good with it. So just get that patch dosage right. And there's at least 5, if I remember correctly, different dosage strengths. And I know women who've cut up those patches to get the dosage right or to make it more cost efficient.
Right.
That's the, and I can't help but think in Australia that you don't have an oral micronized progesterone available. It's not my favorite, but it does a lot of good for a lot of women. Oh my God. And in the United States, it's called Prometrium. It's produced by pharmaceutical manufacturers. I would be willing to wager money that there is an Australian version of Prometrium. It's an oral micronized progesterone produced by pharmaceutical manufacturers. Comes in 2 dosages, 100 and 200 milligrams. You can get a lot of good done with that. You want, if you're taking the patch, you should be on the progesterone as well. Or you should, all women should be on progesterone. It's like
But
all men.
so many say they can't handle it.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. Well, there are some women who have some real challenges with progesterone, and it's not uncommon that a woman who's had a hysterectomy many, many years ago, and she tries to take progesterone and she can't do it. But there are techniques for trying to circumvent that. I mean, when a woman loses her hormones or a man loses hormones, hormones work in a certain way in the body. You've got the hormone, and it interacts with receptor sites within the cell nucleus. Oh my God, really? Talking to DNA and RNA, oh goodness gracious. The 2 moving parts that we're focusing in on here is the hormone and also the receptor site.
Right.
And once you don't have hormones for a while, those receptor sites, they go dormant. So let's say you had 82 billion receptor sites. I don't know what the number is in your body. And you had a hysterectomy, you lost your ovaries, you didn't have any more progesterone to speak of, you get a little bit out of your adrenals. Well, those progesterone receptor sites are going to go to sleep, so to speak. They're going to go dormant. And so instead of having 82 billion, maybe you got 150 of them that are actually available. You take a little progesterone and you just overwhelm. It's like a tsunami to those 150. It's like a sweet, gentle breeze to the 82 billion when you take some progesterone, like manna from heaven. But there's only 150 receptor sites. These are wild numbers. Don't even for a moment think that I'm accurate about it. You got 150 awake receptor sites. It's like a flood. So you think that the progesterone doesn't work. So we address that. We'll use very, very tiny doses of progesterone. So ordinarily we dispense progesterone that is 200 milligrams per milliliter, or it's about just over 8 milligrams per drop. Well, we'll go down so far as to do a progesterone that's 50 milligrams per milliliter. That's a quarter of the strength. That's 2 milligrams per drop. Or 5 milligrams, 4 milligrams per milliliter. That is, let me do the math, or 2 milligrams per milliliter. We can go down as low as we want. So we're starting out very, very gently, and we're gradually increasing over time. So until these experiments can be done, and they can be done, and I'm not certain that there are compounding pharmacies in Australia, but they know how to do this. This is what they love to do. There are pharmacists that make their stuff up from scratch. They take the hormones that they purchase from wonderful pharmaceutical manufacturing techniques, and they break them out into gels and creams and oils put them in there, and women apply them to their skin, or they put them in capsules. So they can give any dose that you want. So if in Australia, questioner, you have compounding pharmacists, let me communicate with them. I'm happy to communicate with them. In this day and age, if you send Carolyn an email of contact information for a pharmacist who's interested, I will reach out to them. I will talk to them. I'll do Zoom conferences with them.
That's huge.
Because we'd love to get into Australia. And I'll assist them in helping you tweak your program. Because if you have compounding pharmacists, they have access to these hormones, and they can put them up in all kinds of different ways. And so I wouldn't give up on progesterone. And then another thing you might need is thyroid. I'm going to get to the thyroid in a minute. Is testosterone. Did I use the word might? Excuse me. Faux pas, whatever that is.
Faux pas.
It's not a might. You need testosterone. Like I was saying earlier, a woman's ovaries produces more testosterone than it does estradiol. It's so crucial. So you also want to get testosterone. And then if you've got low thyroid, you got to get that thyroid dosage really good. The great news is you can. Thyroid dosages can really be dialed in by someone who knows what they're doing. You have to have that. You can't just throw a dart at a wall and hope it sticks with thyroid dosages. It's a highly precise thing. We go through dose discovery processes with thyroid. And there's two thyroid hormones. There's T4, thyroxine, levothyroxine, and there's T3. And a lot of people need the combination of T4 and T3. So you want to dial that thyroid in right. Now, in this instance, we're just talking about your hormones. What I understand is, what I've heard, the rumors out there, that there's more moving parts in the human being, in the human body, than just the hormones. It's just a rumor to me. Just kidding.
I think I'm the one that clued you into that one, right?
There's a lot of different moving parts in a human body. But hormones are really a great place to start because they deplete over time rather significantly. And they do so for a variety of reasons. There's a natural decline. Women don't need enough hormones to get pregnant, for example. But there's an artificial decline when we place excessive demands on these hormones over the course of decades, because these hormones function beautifully for the male and female specific functions that they have, but they double up. They're so powerful that they're recruited for the biology of the fight or flight response, the stress response. And if you don't have the skills to respond elegantly to stress and successfully to stress, you trigger the biochemistry of that stress response. And that really just overtaxes the glands, all of them, and overtaxes the hormones because hormones are coming out of glands. So there's an accentuated decline if you're recruiting your hormones for your fight or flight needs, which most people are doing a lot of.
Right. So you have like stress. You could just deal with stress. However, maybe not correctly, or learn how to deal with stress better so that you don't use up all that stuff.
You don't do the biology. There's a lot of wonderful tools and teachers on how you can deal with your emotions in your mind and your life in a way that's tremendously rewarding the more skills that you get. And it's terrifically important to your health and well-being. And since we're on this topic, that's terrifically important that you are not taxing and forcing decline in your hormones, overusing them, so to speak, fatiguing these glands. and knocking the amount of hormones available for your life. So,
We could do so completely unaware that we're doing so, correct?
yeah, I mean, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And very common at this primitive stage of human history, and I mean that, to have very poor, awful, negatively producing communication skills, to have emotions that factor into your relationships and your businesses that have no business being in there. That's old pain that you don't have the skills to deal with in a healthy way. So you take it out on all the people in your life. Tell yourself stories and make decisions out of assumptions that aren't even correct, but they're based on held fear and sadness and anger and shame and guilt. Well, that's okay that we have these. This is part of human life. This is one of the main reasons we've come to this wonderful planet of ours, is to heal these, to become conscious of them and heal them. And it's also crucial for your health and well-being that you heal these. And so look at the planet Earth. There's so much suffering going on. And that suffering is very taxing to the hormonal system. And so what is called for is information, tools, and support to heal this internal suffering and to not use substances to do it, drugs, alcohol, food. Well, it's a big topic, and occasionally we ventured into this, and I think we should return to today's questions ASAP.
I think you're right, except for that those are some of our most popular interviews. There's so much great information, Dr. Rosensweet,
Sure.
there.
Well, you can schedule another one and let the community know,
I will
and
indeed.
have them, everyone who's interested in that topic, just submit your questions. That will steer us towards the information and tools that can assist you with your emotions, your mind, your life, your communication skills, your relationship skills. And therein is the reward. You get really good at that stuff. You get to keep entering into what life on earth is possible, where it's fun and it's loving and it's magical. That's what life is. So
Yes.
I'll get there ASAP. And yeah, I'd be happy to cover those if people actually submit the questions. Now, there are so many resources for mental and emotional healing skills available these days. Your local Alcoholics Anonymous, your professionals, psychologists, social workers who've devoted their lives and their skills, their professional lives to helping, assisting people with their emotions and their mind online alone. There is just so many teachers that are wonderful. And so this is a time where obviously we need the healing, and it couldn't be a better time to intersect with the information, tools, and support to do so.
Thank you. And we will go there, and I'm going to make sure that we go there because I think it's extremely important. It even makes me kind of tear up a little bit. So please excuse. Um This is a question that we get also, um, and it comes in asking: has anyone experienced hair shedding after increased exercise slash weight training? Um, and I'm talking like vigorous uh, uh, exercise, vigorous weight training. I'm also noticing that I'm very high uh, in my levels of cortisol in the morning, which is very, very uncomfortable. I don't have any insurance. I will, but I don't right now, and I'm looking for any suggestions that you might have to give me, if possible, as to what I can do.
Hair, that's the general topic. And hair has a lot of requirements to be healthy. And one of them is hormones and hormonal balance. And you can lose hair by hormonal imbalance. Like, for example, when you see male pattern baldness, very often there's an excess of testosterone and its conversion to a hormone called DHT. And so you don't want to get into imbalanced situations. You want healthy, balanced situations. In women, hormones matter too. There's other things that matter, but hormones matter. And you see, so getting your estrogens and your testosterone and your progesterone dialed in properly really matters. And what happens to a woman is the principal source of testosterone, the ovary. It also comes out of the adrenal gland. And when the ovaries cease producing these hormones, you can still get some testosterone from the adrenals. And if you don't manage that testosterone biochemically properly, you can lose hair over it. When you couple that with estrogen, which is like fertilizer for the hair, you got some real hair issues there. And then thyroid midlife can often be low, and that can lead to hair loss. And I'm just talking about the hormones as they relate to hormones. So midlife is a common time of hair loss for males and females because you're getting into hormonal depletion and hormonal imbalance, and these hormones relate to hair. The questioner mentioned working out vigorously in the gym. Well, if you do that, you can accentuate your testosterone. You can encourage the output of testosterone by vigorous physical activity or sexual activity. Bravo, good going. However, if testosterone is the only thing you got going because your ovaries have given out and you don't have estrogen, for example, you're getting into hormonal balance and potential hair issues. How much do you need to know these details? Not so much. The detail you need to know is get these ovarian hormones replenished properly.
Right.
Who has got very significant skill and knows how to do this work and can do it and eventually test you to make sure you're dialed in to optimal zones of testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and DHEA. The corticosteroids, high in the morning, they're supposed to be high in the morning. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
People who have them high at night have got some different issues. So you want to celebrate that they're high in the morning. What makes them high? Inappropriate biological relationship to stress. Cortisol is the most principal stress hormone that there is, along with adrenaline. So it's not rocket surgery to figure out if your cortisol is too high. Your skill set in dealing with your emotions and your mind and your life has some information and tools and skills to acquire, so you're not pumping out high levels of cortisol in the morning.
So cortisol is the it's a hormone. Am I correct?
Oh yes.
Okay. And it's the hormone that helps wake you up in the morning and get you going. I mean, you kind of wake up, you're a little.
I wouldn't look at it as that.
Okay.
Cortisol, tremendously potent, as all hormones are, and it has a multitude of functions. And they're natural functions, and you need it. And you need it so much that if you don't have cortisol, you can't live. If you don't have estrogen or testosterone or even thyroid hormone, you can live. But that's not true of cortisol. You must have cortisol. So it has a multitude of functions in the human body. It happens to be high in the morning. It's energized. It really helps you go throughout your day, but it doesn't I would never go so far as to say it wakes you up. It's there for reasons to support a multitude of biological functions in your body. And it's going to be there because its source is the adrenal gland. So if your ovaries are leaving, so to speak,
Hmm.
going to a distant land that's not on Earth, but you're still cruising on Earth. I don't think it exactly works like that.
Is that in your book?
No. But and you're emphasizing cortisol, where cortisol has many functions, multitude of them. It's very, very intimately involved in glucose regulation, which is how you manage your fuel. One of the fuels that has a lot to do with a lot of functions. It has many other functions. But it also is one of the principal hormones recruited when you are attacked by a saber-toothed tiger and you feel stressed and you don't know what to do. If you really know what to do, you'll say to the saber-toothed tiger, listen, let's coexist here. You don't really need to do harm me, and you don't want to mess with the human race. You guys are liable to go extinct from what we're capable of doing. And the saber-toothed tiger scratches its chin and says, wow, you got a point there. I think, hey, listen, let's both go about our day. That would represent excellent skills with saber-toothed tigers. And the metaphor holds.
It
If you
does.
have challenges in your life, relationship challenges, occupational challenges, economic challenges, health challenges, the best thing you can do is acquire the information and tools and skill set to deal really elegantly with these things. And that does not include flying off the handle and going ballistic with anxiety and depression. These are all not elegant enough responses. And the good news is with a little learning, a little coaching, and a lot of practicing, you can get really good in the stress of life. It's one of the things we're here on Earth to do. We're not going to eliminate stress, nor do we want to. It's a natural function of human life. It's sad that the stress can be so excessive and intense. As one of my teachers said, it was never meant to be that way.
Interesting.
That's severe. That's severe. A mentor and teacher that I respect enormously said the original intention with stress was for it to never be as severe and harsh as it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But still, it can be, but the story is always the same. To acquire the internal jujitsu martial arts, that when you're in the stress, you know what to do. You have emotional skills. And you have mental skills. You have choice skills, and you deploy them. And you get better and better and better at it, and everything gets easier and kinder and softer, and you don't drive your cortisol nuts. Because if you don't do the multidimensional work, you get the biological consequence of it, which is excessive adrenaline and cortisol. And if there's anything that's going to make you jittery, it's the adrenaline that goes along with the cortisol. Whoa. So, yeah. Who knew this stuff? In grade school, I was not taught. Now, everybody, we want to give you some emotional skills and how to deal with the emotional pain you came to Earth with and you've repressed and it's coming out. As it comes out, we want to help you deal with it in a really healthy and successful way. And that started in kindergarten. If it hadn't, it just continued from what you were learning at home, observing your parents be skillful with these tools. That didn't happen for us. That's why we're still in such dark ages. But millions and millions of Americans and people worldwide are devoting their lives to the healing of their own being and their healing of their own lives. It's very, very wonderful. It's nip and tuck with forces that are still unconscious, uncaring, ungolden rule. They're still out there going wild. The devil is dancing. But there's this uprising of millions of Americans who, small, medium, or large, are deeply committed to being better people. I was listening to a Keb Mo song this morning called Better Man. Wants to be a better man. How about
I know
that?
that song.
How about that for an enterprise? Do you know that song, that Keb Mo song? Daryl, you do. That's great. So anyway, let's go back to the questions.
Well, you did answer the question, and I appreciate that, and I'm sure she does too. One thing, and then I want to get to this. Yeah, we have a few minutes left. We've discussed too much, too little exercise, right? Too much, too little weight training. Is there a happy medium in there?
Well, that's a good point, Carolyn. A lot of people are using exercise as a stress management tool. Fair enough. But sometimes the excessive emotional pain, you're trying to get rid of it by exercise and get the chemicals of well-being that are produced by exercise. The thing about exercise is like anything else in life. You got to do the right amount. You can't do too little. We are designed to move. And if you do too little, you pay a heavy price. But if you do too much, and you go to any gymnasium and you can point out the people that are abusing their bodies, they're just overdoing it. They don't know that their knees or their hips or their shoulders are going to do terrifically well with some of the exercises they're doing. And so one of the skills when you go to the gym is, can you become so aware that you know what your shoulders like when you're lifting, you know what your knees like when you're on a treadmill or when you're walking, and you pay close enough attention that they are the determiners of the right amount. And so you can overdo it in the gymnasium or in your exercise programs. And we know why people do that, because you get some wonderful internal biochemicals generated by proper exercise, but you can overdo it, and the exercise itself becomes stressful. I also want to look at the thyroid. If the corticosteroids are really high, you want to make sure that you're not dealing with a functional hypothyroidism, and cortisol is trying to pull the whole train. It's trying to do the work that ordinarily the work would be distributed, glandularly speaking, by all the glands. They'd all be contributing the right amount to what's required. But if cortisol is all you got left, because your thyroid's a little too tired and your ovaries are sunsetting, then you're putting excessive demand on those adrenals, and they won't keep up with it. One thing about excessive cortisol, it doesn't last. You keep putting excessive demands on corticosteroids, and over time you deplete them. And yes, you can, I always tell people when I see high corticosteroids and their 24-hour urine hormone test, I always say, good for you. You got adrenal glands that are still capable of it. Now you got some adjusting to do here. You don't want to be pumping out this much. That's not going to work over time. Because more commonly in midlife, I'm starting to see corticosteroids deplete. So you don't have people saying, I'm putting out too much cortisol. I'd like to know how the questioner actually made that determination. Did they do a 24-hour urine hormone test, or they did some kind of a sophisticated blood test to determine that? Because not many people are putting out too much cortisol. They just don't, except kids or young folks. Most adults by midlife have depleted their adrenal glands too. They're not capable of putting out too much corticosteroids. So, bottom line, really good health and hormonal balance has a need for really good skills that when stress comes up, internal or external, you do well with it. Like if you find yourself afraid and you can't even think of the reason, it's just emerging from inside of yourself, and you're actually afraid, and you're telling yourself the truth about it because you actually paid enough attention to realize that you're feeling fear. The skill is quietly, in the comfort and silence of your own self, you stay aware of it, and you feel it, and you accept it. You breathe and feel, and you feel and feel, and you feel the fear, and you become a safe space for the fear that's risen up for you to just be there. And you breathe and stay conscious and go about your workday or your life. It doesn't have to slow you down, especially if you get conscious. Oh my God, I'm feeling afraid.
I guess you take a good deep breath.
And there's no reason that's apparent. There's no saber-toothed tiger attacking. There's, yeah, life's a little stressful, but there's no immediate danger. I'm not walking on a freeway here. I'm not. So if there's no apparent reason, so you don't have to respond to the fear, it's a skill to allow yourself to be conscious of the fear and accept it, allow it to be. And if you do that, you're not going to reach out for alcohol to mood alter. You're not going to reach out for food to mood alter. You're not going to get irresponsible and blame the world or blame the Republicans or blame the Democrats or blame your spouse or your boss for the pain that you are feeling in your own self. So I definitely have a hard stop.
Okay,
early.
so I'm going to give you a really quick question.
Okay, good. You go.
No such thing, but I'm going to give it my best shot. What about, Dr. R, withdrawing from these hormones? If I would have known that the progesterone acted like a benzo, I never would have taken it. My central nervous system has completely been compromised big time, and now I'm bedridden.
Well, this is a question that I'm happy to address, but it exceeds
The amount of time, yeah.
It exceeds the time constraints or this format. When someone is bedridden, there are very strong reasons why they're bedridden. And yes, some people have some challenges with progesterone, but as a physician, it's very challenging for me to accept that there's not other really important factors that need to be addressed here. So I'm going to suggest, this is not going to be as helpful as I'm sure the questioner would like, that the questioner seek out a functional medicine expert, along with, you're probably going to need other types of support. We don't know, but in someone who's really used to dealing with health problems, including bedriddenness, they're going to take a very, very thorough history, and they're going to get clues about things to pursue to try and understand the several significant moving parts of why you're bedridden. And the kind of help, the kind of choices and practices that may serve you to heal that, because healing is possible. Bedriddens means a lot of water under the bridge as far as trouble goes, to keep it general. And there's probably some more multidimensional, so there's some biology involved there. We're multidimensional, so there's emotions involved there. There's life is involved there, or some absences of what it takes to live in there. There's some mental involved there, thoughts and stuff. There's some choices involved there. And the question always in wanting to heal is, where's the point of leverage? What's one or two things I could start with that are going to address the core causes of this? Progesterone toxicity, this severe, leading to bedriddenness. I've never heard of anything like that in my life. And this is the work I do day in and day out for the last 55 years. So Now, can people have trouble with progesterone? Yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong. If you've got excessive progesterone in your body, I can't imagine that this is giving you trouble, but you can detox. You can you can buy an infrared sauna that's portable for just over $300. And you can get into that thing and sweat day after day after day until you sweat toxins out. But detoxification sometimes needs to be guided by an expert because people can make mistakes detoxifying in inappropriate ways and doing
Oh,
too much too fast. So I really like naturopathic physicians and functional medicine physicians and some health coaches are really knowledgeable about detox. You want guidance on detox, especially if you're having trouble. But to be bedridden, you know, it's time to reach out. Maybe you have, but you keep reaching out, you keep seeking help. Okay, maybe you go through a few people that aren't able to help you. But sooner or later, if your intention is to heal, you will heal.
true enough.
I'm I'm signing off for today, and I'm going to see you in a week.
Well, you are indeed, and we will be here, very, very willing to hear your wisdom. So we thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for coming up. Got the questions, and we will bring them up on Tuesday. And I'm wishing everybody a fabulous week. It's always good to see you, Dr. R. Always
Likewise,
say
Carolyn.
hi to
Yeah,
everybody, and
fun.
we'll see you
It's a
next
lot of
Tuesday.
fun.
I'm sorry?
It's a lot of fun, among other things.
Yes, it's
Good.
always fun. That's for sure. So have a wonderful one. Thank you for all the great answers, and we will get back to it on Tuesday.
All righty. Bye bye now.